Good evening, folks. Good evening. This is Spirit Journey. Today is Thursday, June 18, 2020, and the time is now 1:02 a.m. I'd like to share with you two videos. I was referred to this video that you see on the screen entitled, "This Woman is Believed to Be America's Last Slave." It was uploaded by al.com and it was uploaded April 9, 2019. And it's very, very interesting. And so, again, I have to prove to many people on YouTube, many so-called people of color on YouTube who are ashamed of their black ancestry, and they want to claim that they were always here and that the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, is a myth. So let me show you this again. Okay, as you saw, she was kidnapped, and she's from Benin, Africa. Benin is in West Africa, okay? But you know, there are a lot of delusional black people in America who want to claim Native American ancestry, and they'll even call that they're from the Blackfoot tribe. See, you know, a lot of us black people, we're so unoriginal. We're so unoriginal. Blackfoot. Okay, let me go on. Okay. 80 years later, in 36, she spoke in her native language, Bantu, with a visiting African academic in Dallas County, Alabama, at the age of 90. Okay? So, she did not speak Arabic because you have the Nation of Islam who say that Arabic is our natural tongue, our native tongue, before they came to the Americas, and that Islam is our real religion. Okay, so they're trying to brainwash you. But this is a woman who was kidnapped. She was kidnapped from West Africa. She's not some Blackfoot or Cherokee. And yes, she has high cheekbones too, you know. Let me go on. Okay. The SS CLOTILDA, that is a slave ship, okay? And it was brought to Mobile, Alabama. And I talked about the SS CLOTILDA in another video that I did about the last slave ship in continental USA, okay? Now this is the female counterpart that had survived the journey from West Africa to the Americas, to Alabama. Okay. The other video I did was featuring a black man who survived. But we'll talk about, he'll be in this video also. Let me continue. So it is documented that this person, Amelia Boynton Robinson, okay, she's an activist, and she interviewed this enslaved woman. Okay, these are some of the things that happened to her. She was beaten, whipped, and she saw killings. So she saw terrorism. Oh, I'm just noticing. Who has the whip in his hand? See that? Look, this is very important. This is very important. The whip is given to look at that, a black man. See that? That's a black man. And this is a white man. And that's a black woman. Don't you realize why there's such animosity and mistrust within the black community? Because the white man is having blacks to inflict pain on the woman, the black woman. Okay, so there's mistrust. But we're all fighting each other in the community, but we're not fighting the white man here, who's in the middle in wealth. Okay, let's see. The journey was so horrific, she believed that it took a year and had hoped to die before arriving to America. Look at that. See, this is history. This is not something to be ashamed of. This is something that you, in pride, say, you know, I survived this hardship. I survived it. I'm a stronger person as a result of this abuse. See, real glory is not that you're born with a gold spoon in your mouth. Real glory is that in adversity, you rise above it. Okay? But instead, a lot of us, blacks in America and in the Caribbean and other parts of the Americas, want to make up a legend that denies this fact that's so well documented, and you want to make up a phony history about some Indian, and everybody's grandma is an Indian. No, most of us grandmothers were black women or biracial as a result of a white man violating a black woman. Okay, but you want to believe in the Tonto belief. Tonto, and was that the cowboy Indian? What's the name of? Oh, the Long Ranger and Tonto. You want to believe that you're Tonto, and that you're the assistant to the white man. That's what you want to believe, that you're his best friend. So you're an Indian now. Okay? Because you're ashamed of this woman. You're ashamed of this woman who took care of you, who did everything she knew in her power to try to protect you. But as you see in that drawing, that they had the white man, and they had the white man force the black to whip you, men and women. But you want to be some fucking Indian, okay? This woman, this black woman here, deserves the glory. She did everything that she knew how to do to survive, to try to protect her kids. You need to know who your real enemy is, and you need to come together as a community. I'm going to go on. Okay, she talked about the hideous abuse she endured for the years she spent as a slave, and then the next 70 years as a black woman living in the South under Jim Crow. Okay, talks about who, let's see, an English professor at Newcastle University's Dr. Hannah Durkin had slowly pieced together some of Vidalshi's life before and after she came to Alabama aboard the slave ship CLOTILDA. Revealed she may have been the last surviving transatlantic African slave to have lived in the United States. Okay, I want to say something. It's more semantics. See, she didn't come here. She wasn't born a slave. She was kidnapped. She was a person, just like you and I, a person who was human trafficked. This is human trafficking. And when you say she is a slave or he was a slave, he became enslaved. She became enslaved. They are not slave. They were enslaved. These are people. These are people, human beings who were enslaved. See the difference? So when you say, oh, well, they took the slaves and blah, blah, blah. No, you took people and enslaved them. It's a difference. What's this? Durkin first published her work on Vodishie in the Slavery and Abolition Journal in late March. Yeah, this man here is the man that I did the video on, I think it was last year. He also survived that trip on the CLOTILDA, SS CLOTILDA. Okay, it says, for generations, historians believed that Cujo Lewis, also known as Kazula, was the last surviving African slave in America. Well, they mean the United States of America. Okay, he resided in Mobile County and is buried in Africa Town. Okay, so what town did they call it? African Town. Not Blackfoot, not Cherokee, not, what other? Not Carib, but Africa Town. This man had a nationality. He had a language, but instead you want to give the glory to a bunch of Indians who did nothing for you. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Oh yeah. Nothing. See, when you live a life of integrity, you're able to live long life as he and the woman. See that? How many Indians do you see living up to 90 years of age or more? You don't see them on here. You don't see them. But see, these people lived a righteous life, survived, and probably outlived their abusers. That's something to celebrate, not some fucking Indian. Okay, Durkin's efforts at piecing together Vodishie's life now offers one of the most complete composites views of an African woman slave living in the United States. You know, they're actually a lot, they're books. See, after the Civil War, the Union Army had interviewed the former enslaved people and documented on what happened to them, their lives, everything. See, there was no secret about the transatlantic slave trade of where the people came from, what type of work, what was the monies, how much was made. Everything was documented. It was documented for a reason. And so any one of you who's listening to this video can just do the research yourself and research what these people said about their lives. And they're not going to say, oh, I'm from a Blackfoot Indian, or I'm Cherokee, etc. They're going to say, well, I'm from the CLOTILDA. It landed in Alabama. And I'm from West Africa, Benin, or Nigeria, or, etc. I was a young child, or I was a teenager, or an adult, and this happened to me. They never said anything about some Indian being from an Indian tribe. These people had dignity and pride in who they were, and proof of that is their longevity. When you run from yourself, when you don't love yourself, you don't live long. Okay, one of the first mainstream accounts to have mentioned Rhodesia appears in 1932 interview with a reporter from Montgomery Advertiser. Okay, so again, people documented history. Okay, she's not coming from some Indian reservation. Okay, people did document a lot of stuff, and in fact, there is an account of a slave woman who ran away from slavery. She hid out in a house, within the walls of the house, and lived in there for quite a while. And this same slave woman, okay, this is what really started awakening me about taking pride in my African roots. That this slave woman, slaves were able to make a few pennies, like outside of their slave chores. They could make some money on the side. And that woman who had did a little commerce on the side gave a poor white man money. She had more money than a free white man. She wrote a book, The Diary of a Slave Girl. See, that's your history, not some Indian that you want to give glory to. This black woman, she was a mixed race. She could almost pass as a white woman, but she is of African ancestry. Yes, she's a mixed race, but your status of whether you're a slave or free was according to what womb you were born out of. If you're born from a slave woman, then the children are slave. If you're born from a free woman, then the child was born free. That's how it went. Okay? Okay, these are I assume the two people that came from that ship that was brought to the U.S. as slave. Rhodesia and Kozula were from the same West African country and arrived in the United States on the slave ship CLOTILDA at the same time. Okay? They're not from some Indian reservation. See, these people were not ashamed of their roots. They were born free, but became enslaved. You see the difference? They became, not that they were, they became enslaved. Okay, upon arrival from Africa, Ridoshi was bought by Washington Smith. Ridoshi told Boynton Robinson that she was forced to eat grass before being sold to Smith. Now, I don't know what that, I never heard of that. Smith was the founder of a Bank of Selma, so you had the banking system. See that? Banks. And owner of the Bogue Chitto Plantation in Dallas County. Okay, so she and her descendants should sue the Bank of Selma for reparations, not some try to get acceptance to be called an Indian. See that? Real power is to expose your true enemies. And to do that, you have to know your true history. Okay. He also was part of a group of men that sought to make Selma the capital of the new Confederate States of America. Her descendants has a lawsuit for reparations. See that? Things are documented. This was not hidden. There's no secret. You have to expose it. All those documentations are available for you to investigate, to get copies of, and then put in a file with the United Nations to demand your reparations package. But no, you want white people to believe, white and other black people to believe you're some fucking Indian. You stupid ass. Okay. Ridoshi was quickly married as a child bride to a fellow slave bought by Smith. I hope that's not her. I don't know. That'd be nasty. That's a little girl. She looked about 5 years old. I don't know. I don't know whether this is just a photo or is it really her. I don't know. He is known in historical writings as Uncle Billy, although it's believed his real name was Yawith. He worked as a sharecropper after the pair were freed. They raised a daughter together and, according to Durkin, had great-grandchildren, some of whom went on to become teachers, ministers, according to Durkin. Okay, so these were educators. You need to read that. They weren't people that ran around with their pants hanging down. These were educators. I was in the 7th grade, and a guy in my class said, my mother said I could act up in the white people's class, but don't do that to so-and-so because she's a black teacher. That is a dumbass mother. To tell your black son to act like a damn fool in a white teacher's class. You think that guy amounted to anything? See, the problem is, he probably was told that he's some fucking Blackfoot Indian or Cherokee with a fucking lie. Okay? He needed to see this video. That's what he needed to see, that, wow, black people could be teachers, ministers, etc. He needed to see that. Let's go on. Okay, she died in 1937. Okay, Durkin's effort at piecing together Rhodesia's life now offers one of the most complete composite views of an African woman slave living in the United States. Okay? This is just so many proofs that the slave trade did exist. It existed. And we came from Africa. Various places in Africa. But you walk in shame. It's not our shame. It's our strength. It's not impressive when a rich white child, born in wealth, born with a gold spoon, and then starts a business. That's not impressive. What's impressive is someone born in meekness, who overcomes adversities of all kinds and become magnificent. But instead you want to create a false narrative because, see, you watch television rather than reading history, your history. Let me go on. And you know what just dawned on me watching her prepare her food? I assume that's food that she's preparing. See, we cooked our own food. We didn't go to fast food places and eat that crap. We prepared our own food. We had our own chickens. We had our own gardens in the back in these slave huts. We had all that. That's how come we were able to live and outlive our oppressors. Right? But no, you want to eat fucking McDonald's and all this other crap. You're fat and lazy. You don't take care of yourself. And you're shaming your ancestors. Fucking idiot. Okay, Rhodesia may have lived slightly longer than Kazula, but all the CLOTILDA survivors were incredible men and women whose stories are exceptionally rare. But nevertheless, tremendously inspiring first-hand accounts. See that? First-hand accounts. That means from the person who experienced, the experiencer. Not because somebody's great-great-grandmother claimed. You know, these are people who lived it. She didn't have to lie about where she came from. She knew where she came from. When she looked in that mirror, she knows where she came from and she spoke the language. Okay? Know your history and know the truth. Okay, let me show you something else here. Okay, this is entitled Black Indians, the Civilized Tribes and Native American Slavery. Okay, this was uploaded by, let me see here, James Mayfield. It was uploaded November 25, 2013. Okay, I put it to this position and I'm going to play it.
But the most famous Native American tribes involved in the slave trade in American history are the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Seminole, and the Muskogee Creek. Interestingly, these are the 5 tribes that George Washington considered the only tribes worthy of being called the 5 civilized tribes. Washington and the Founding Fathers admired these tribes as if they had the potential for civilization. They had the seeds of democratic governance, so they could eventually be paved towards citizenship. The U.S. government had the same attitude towards the Iroquois Confederacy. They had a very strong oral constitution that the Founding Fathers looked upon as like the genesis of American democracy. They were inspired by it. The Iroquois would constantly raid villages in the Great Lakes area for capturing slaves. But the fact that all these tribes participated in the slave trade didn't diminish their civilization or their humanity to the Founding Fathers. Instead, it was these tribes that the U.S. government gave special privileges as part of America's civilization policy. It would give them extra incentives and allow these tribes the quickest path towards American citizenship.
Wow. So this is the first time I'm watching this video. But you see that? These are 5 civilized tribes are kissing behind of their oppressors. And these same so-called civilized tribes are the tribes that had enslaved black people. So you know, some of you black people who claim that you belong to such and such tribe, well, actually you were slaved by them, by the Choctaw, the Navajo, and all you were enslaved by them. That's why you were associated with them, not that you are an Indian or a black Indian. It's like me saying I'm a black English person or a black French person, okay? It's not that you were Indian. You are owned / oppressed by Indians. And that's why you're on their plantation, not because you just so happen to have brown skin and a part of their tribe. No, you were a slave, enslaved by these people, just like you were enslaved by white people. So let's wake up. Let's wake up and stop being foolish. Okay, you have Native American blood? So what? You're still being hounded and oppressed by white people. The cops aren't asking what Indian tribe you're from. They couldn't care less if you got your reservation card of acceptance by some Indian group. They still shoot you down and ask questions later. Embrace your true history and love yourself. Know your true history and really become free. That is my message. That is my message in all this. I thank you all for listening, okay? So it's I'm not trying to embarrass, but to wake up. Love the person you see in the mirror. Love your true history. It is impressive because you endured and survived. You see, all these, your oppressors, they're dying too. See, when you do wickedness, you don't live that long. There's more records of black people living longer than their white counterpart. Okay? Live a righteous, a goodly life. That's impressive. Not being born as a slave in some Indian tribe and putting a fake costume on, trying to pass it off like you're some Indian. You were enslaved by those 5 so-called civilized tribes. Don't be an Indian tribe. Be a civilized black tribe that you come from. You come from wonderful stock, and that's why you're alive and strong. Stay strong, use wisdom, and teach your children Likewise. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.